Welcome into the newest episode of Side Mission. I, like always, am your host, Rusty Ellis, joined by just two of the boys today, Matt and Thacker, and today we are talking about yet another Nintendo release. You know it's a Nintendo release because Matt's here. But today we are talking about Splatoon 3. And I'm not going to lie, this might be, and I say might, I think this is my favorite Nintendo release of the year to this point. I know we still have some big ones left. We still got Bayonetta 3, we got Mario Rabbids, we got Pokemon Scarlet and Violet that are all going to be really, really good, hopefully. But Splatoon 3, I have really enjoyed about 90% of what we have played. I know that there is one big, big negative that we're all going to talk about, but we're going to talk positives first. Matt, as I just kind of alluded to, you're the big Nintendo guy, and I know you've played more of the single player than we have. You've finished the single player. I've played a little bit of it. Thacker's played a little bit of it. But talk about the single player, because Splatoon is primarily a multiplayer game, but I feel like this single player is really, really solid.
Thing that I have to point out about the single player is I have enjoyed all of them from Splatoon 1 to Splatoon 2, and the Octopath expansion from Splatoon 2. Now, what I really liked what they did with the single player in this game is, so they kind of had a fake out where you start off in the campaign and it kind of plays very similar to how Splatoon 2's single player was. But what's really cool is once you actually traverse through that area, you get to beat the boss, and then it throws you into like this much different like layout, like the way that you're going to be playing this out. So this is more based off of the Octo expansion. So it's a little bit different. You start off in this room where you have different kind of sections, and each different little, I don't know, it kind of sounds like a tea kettle, honestly, when you're accessing it.
It really
sounds
does,
just
you're
like
right.
that. But so it throws you in these rooms that have different puzzles. And they're each different and unique. You choose a weapon that is randomly sorted out for you. So, for example, a lot of the rooms just require you to go from point A to point B, which is going through and killing off the enemies and getting enough of the little salmon eggs to continue to progress through the campaign. They throw some very unique challenges in there. There's some very difficult ones that brought back some PTSD memories from Octo expansion, like the grind rails ones where you have to ride on these rails and you have to shoot these balloons or these targets, and if you don't shoot enough of them, you won't be able to access the next guardrail, and you'll basically just fall to your death. It's kind of cool that they finally added checkpoints here, which was a complaint that I had with Octo expansion.
Wait, they didn't have checkpoints before in single player?
They did not.
That's crazy.
Especially not. Yeah, not on the guardrails at least. I remember having to after I lost all 3 of my lives, I had to start completely over. But at least here, there is a little bit of a sacrifice you have to make when you have to give up some of your salmon eggs. But it's nothing too bad. It's only like 20 or just really depending on the room's required amount. But everything in the single player is fantastic. I like that they introduced the newer characters that we see who are doing the introduction with Shiver, Big Man, which everybody loves. Big Man, apparently he's the biggest memeable character right now. And who's the other one's name?
Is it Fry? Is it Fry?
It's Fry. It is Fry, yes. And they throw some very unique boss battles in there. One thing that Mario Sunshine fans will notice is Big Man's boss fight is very similar to one that was in Mario Sunshine. So if you guys have gotten to that point, it is very nostalgic, and it's so cool that they redid that. And then I don't even get me started on the final boss fight, which was the most batshit crazy thing. And I mean, Nintendo can throw out some crazy boss fights, as we've all seen with like Mario games or Zelda games. But this one takes the cake for the creativity that went into it.
I've heard that this game has a pretty rampant difficulty spike. Is that true?
It is true, yes. The further into the single player you get, there are definitely difficulty spikes.
It's crazy because I never really think about a Nintendo game being hard. I also suck at a lot of Nintendo games typically, so that's why I feel that way. We mentioned earlier the multiplayer is really where this game shines. I think the single player is really good. The few hours I've spent on it, I really have enjoyed what I've played, and that's really been a nice surprise. I wasn't expecting it to be all that great. Thacker, let's talk about the multiplayer though, because we've all really enjoyed it, and I think that the first big positive in this game is the weapon variety. Like, let's talk weapon variety first, because we've all used a couple different weapons. Matt spent a lot of time with the splat dualies early on, and I know that Thacker, you and I have been using the rollers a lot. But talk about the weapon variety, man, because I feel like this game really nails that part of a multiplayer game.
Yeah, no, like the game itself brought in quite a bit of variety with weapons, and I know Splatoon is notorious for doing that. Even though I haven't played one or two, and with that, Matt, I apologize for not giving it a chance to actually give you somebody to game with for this game because this game is ultimately about the multiplayer interactions. Um, and with that comes these amazing guns and weapons to actually be able to complete your objective being the turf wars of who's going to have more ink on the floor. And with that, so yeah, Rusty and I have been using the rollers a lot. In fact, last night I don't know if you guys noticed this. I actually
You did
switched up
use a different weapon. I did notice that. I didn't say anything, but I did notice that.
Yeah. It came with the whole future story time that we'll have with it, but I ended up going and picking up the level 30 gun just to see how it was, and oh my
What
god.
was it? Was it the arrow spray?
It's kind of like a Gatlin.
Oh,
Oh, another
okay.
one. I
It's
know
kind
what
of like
we're
a
talking about.
Gatling gun. Like I don't know the name of it. I could probably pull it up, but it's not that big of a deal in my opinion. But it's a great gun. My only complaint with it is a little slow to ramp up.
I
But
think
there's
I've
that
I think I've used that weapon in like salmon run, so I think I know the exact weapon you're talking about.
yeah, or
Right
a
quick,
variant of it.
is it the Hydra Splatling?
I couldn't tell you, Matt. It's the very last gun you can unlock.
Okay, okay.
But like in Salmon Run, there's that one of the varieties of the Gatlin gun. So with that, I tried something different. Um, Ended up liking it, but I will always still think that a team of four rollers will dominate the entire game.
the
I'm
few
sorry,
times the few times we had four rollers, it was pretty insane. You're not wrong there.
like devastating numbers. I'm talking like we were 60, almost into the 70% of covering the entire map. So it's devastating if you put four rollers on one side. But each weapon has its own different style of use of spreading ink. From the dualies of double pistol, automatic pistols, to the rollers being able to spread out a lot in a continuous line, so you have somewhere to retreat with. Um, to the sniper, where you're able to actually get some distance on it more than anything else. To even the Gatlin, where you're able to put out a large amount of ink in a short amount of time. And with that, they all have their own sub weapon with it, whether it be the bombs, the grenades, mines, showers, stuff like that. And then one thing I really enjoyed, each weapon has a ultimate style move,
Yes.
right? I have this is one reason why I picked up that Gatling gun. I wanted something new. I enjoyed the 10 missiles, but I needed something just to kind of cleanse my palate, I should say.
That's
Um,
fair.
uh, that thing is crazy. You pretty much get a jetpack, fly into the air, and you get unlimited shots until your system overheats, which of course is on a time measure. I think it's like 6, 7 seconds, but you can shoot off as many possible shots, and it does stupid damage.
Yeah.
Like I'm just talking about this. I just want a game right now while we're doing this recording. Just sit here, play Splatoon, and just be able to record as well, but
I'm not gonna lie, us talking about it is making me want to play Splatoon. We might have to do that whenever we get done recording all these episodes. Might have to play some Splatoon. But
No.
I as someone who has used like the level 20 roller, I think it's the Flingza roller or something like that.
Yeah.
I think it's okay. So I'm good. I'm correct on that. I would have hated to have all these Splatoon fans up my ass if I had said that wrong, because God knows how Nintendo fans can be.
Whoa.
But I love. Oh, I'm not wrong. Come on now. But I love it. I love the Tenna missiles, man. The Tenna missiles are probably my favorite special in the game. I will tell you, my least favorite has probably been the crab tank. At least among the ones I've used. I don't love the crab tank, just because I don't feel like I'm very good with it. It just doesn't really match my playstyle all that much. But I like the difference between like the normal roller and the roller that we're using now, Thacker, that I've said is that I love how it makes you more viable offensively. Like the roller is great, period, for covering the floor. It's great for spreading your ink, covering more of the map. But having the Tenna missiles, what I liked about that was giving you a little bit of offense that it comes at a range. Because when you use a roller, you've got to be right up on an enemy to actually do damage to them and to splat them. And I feel like adding the Tenna missiles, you become a little bit more viable from range. And even if you don't splat anybody with them, you still get to cover that part of the map with them. So I definitely like this. I will say the most broken weapon that I think we've seen so far, it's got to be either the wiper or the paintbrush. It's got to be one of those two, because
I have to say it's the paintbrush.
It's incredible. If you literally just spam the trigger, it is amazing how much damage you can output doing that. And I was irritated with people who played that way at first, and then I got the paintbrush and I was like, okay, I get it. It makes sense. I see why y'all do this. I definitely think there can be some balancing issues with weapons. I think there are some later on that are a lot more viable than the early ones. And I get it. Lock certain weapons behind a certain level. That's cool. Or behind a certain number of Sheldon licenses. I understand that. That's cool. I just don't feel like they need to be drastically better than what you start with, because for new players, if they can do a lobby with, a bunch of players that have late game weapons, you're not going to win unless you're just really damn good at the game. And I think early on that was a little frustrating, because there were people that had like level 20 weapons on launch night. And I remember all of us, along with, Tabby, we were all playing, and we would run into people with these weapons, and it's like, well, we've got to play pretty much a perfect game just to win now.
Well,
And,
one thing that they did was anyone who migrated their Splatoon 2 saves over, they got 3 special golden Sheldon licenses, which you could use one to unlock any weapon of your choice.
I don't like that.
A lot of people probably did that. I mean, I did that. That's how I got.
Oh, you cheap bastard!
That's how I got the highest level dualies when we first started playing.
You cheap bastard! I hate you. Like
Matt's
over here like. Matt's hearing me complain about people being OP, and he's like, I am the overpowered. It is me. Like, that is Matt right now.
Not only that, but like Matt was complaining about it too. And now he's over here defending them.
Matt, I don't like you. Maybe
I did it.
Matt's like, for those of us that are using basic weapons, I just can't stand you motherfuckers that use OP stuff. And Matt's like, well, it's also me. I'm the overpowered one too. Matt's on
me.
both sides.
It's always been me.
Matt's the definition of y'all. Like, I'm gonna go on a random tangent here. Matt is that guy from one of the Schoolhouse Rock songs that when they're at a football game, he's the guy that goes, "Hooray! I'm for the other team" when the other team starts winning. That's Matt right now. That is Matt.
He's like the kid from Simpsons. The cop's son.
Yep, I know exactly who we're talking about.
I'm in danger.
I have also used my amiibos to get some of like the really cool gear.
Matt, you're cheap, bro. I don't like you anymore.
Okay, when we get done and we start playing again, before we start playing, I'm coming in your room and I'm borrowing some of your amiibos because I want some cool gear. And when Rusty's in town, we're gonna get him the cool gear too.
Bro, this is my turf. You don't bring your colors up in here.
But
What?
okay. Let's get back on the farm. So but getting back on track. Get back on track. I think there's a lot of things this game does really well. Honestly, the gameplay is really addicting, and I know that that's not anything new for Splatoon fans. Like they're like, well, duh, of course it is. Matt, it's worth pointing out. Like you've already put almost like over 25 hours into this game. Me and Thacker have both probably close to that 20-hour mark, and this game is still like relatively recent. I mean, we've had quite a few games out. I know that me and Thacker have been playing 2K as well, but like we've put quite a few hours in on this game. I think it says something when a game is able to hook you. That I've never been a big Splatoon person. I've wanted to try Splatoon 2, but when I saw Splatoon 3 was announced, I was like, okay, I'll just wait for that. And I've really enjoyed what I've played, especially when we've all played together. Playing solo, it's fun, but it's not as fun as I would like for it to be.
I know.
So let's talk now. Let's get into criticisms a little bit because as much as I love this game, I think it is a game that has 10 out of 10 gameplay, but the problem is, and the reason why I would give it like an 8.5 or a 9 right now, the servers are rough. And I get it, like, when it first came out, it was one thing, but now we're a couple weeks into this game being out, at least. By the time you're listening to this, probably even further out from release. Like, I just feel like the servers shouldn't be in this bad a shape because communication errors happen regularly. Disconnects happen regularly. And to be quite honest, we don't know for a fact, if we're being fair to Nintendo and to developers of Splatoon, we don't know if that means that somebody is mad that they're losing and they're just quitting, or if that somebody's internet is just bad and they're getting disconnected. We don't know because it doesn't tell us. But it is kind of lousy if you're playing with a random, like when the three of us are playing, if we're playing with a random and they get mad that we're losing early on and they quit, it gets very frustrating that we get handed a loss for that. I think that's bullshit. I think that's crap. I think we stayed in the game. My other thing is, I know we're not likely to win, but even though that person disconnects, why not like just let the three of us stay in the game?
Yeah.
Like, why not let us have a shot to at least compete? We can at least get some XP, and maybe if you're able to get into the random end of the match in time, maybe we can find a way to win. But it's just very frustrating that we don't do anything wrong and yet we get handed a loss. And winning and losing isn't everything in these games. I mean, I'm playing just because it's fun. It is frustrating when we lose, but it's very frustrating that we get handed a loss if we lose. And Thacker, I know you agree with that.
Oh yeah, most definitely. It's one of those where there should be some sort of balancing. If you're in the last minute of the game, let us finish the game. I understand that can be the turning tides of a game, but if you're in the last minute of a game, let us finish it instead of just kicking all of us out and unfortunately giving us all a loss as well, even though it says those who stayed won't receive a loss. It's one of those where you should be able to at least still have that option. Leave it up to the players. Give it pull up a poll and be like, do you want to finish the game? Yes, no. And majority vote on it.
That would be great.
Boom.
I would love that.
Right? We had a game last night where literally the game had ended. It was over for a good 10 seconds. And then I got disconnected.
Yep.
And got hit with a ban hammer.
It's crap, I agree.
The first disconnect of the night, and it's at the end of the game, and I get hit with a 3-minute ban. I'm not able to play. I'm not able to do anything online. Yeah. I can only pretty much explore around the city, which is fine, but it's annoying.
It is very annoying. I feel that.
Just in Turf Wars alone, that's annoying.
No, absolutely. This should not be a problem in 2022. Nintendo has always been behind when it comes to online. They have games that do it really well, like Mario Kart, and Pokemon to an extent. I've never really had any disconnects with that, but other games like Super Smash Brothers, and I know we touched upon this before, but Mario Maker 2's internet was practically unplayable.
Oh, it was
Like,
terrible, and that was bad for months after release.
oh yeah, when you like start that up, you're probably running at 2 frames per second. And I wish I was kidding. And it's just because of the fact that Nintendo refuses to, for some reason, they even though they want to charge us money now, whereas it used to be free, like on the Wii U for their online, they want us to pay money now, which I'm all for it if I can get the same kind of online experience that I'm getting on with my PlayStation or my Xbox consoles. They kind of fixed up a lot of things here. Like, I love the fact that they finally introduced a lobby system so you can easily play with your friends now, which has been such a problem in the past with other Splatoon games. And now that we finally got a lobby system and we can, get up with our friends, which has made things like Salmon Run, which is one of my favorite modes in this game, especially
Salmon Run, yeah, it's really fun.
Game. Um, Back then, you could not play with Salmon Run with your friends as easy as you can now. It was very rare that you ever got to actually play with anyone that wasn't randoms. Um, and like another thing that I liked what they introduced here is the fact that you can now the fact that you can squad with your friends, because I'm used to playing this game alone. So now that I'm
Yeah.
able to play with my friends, and I actually have people who want to play this game now, which is I'm so happy to have that happen, because this game has been one of my, like, this whole series has been something that I've absolutely loved, and it's become a very cherished, like, Nintendo series, like even to the point where they put Inkling in Super Smash Brothers now. That's how they have legitimized their legacy in Nintendo's characters now. So this has been, this is almost just the perfect game. I hope as time goes on, Nintendo can figure out how to better have a better infrastructure for their online. So I would love to be able to have voice chat through the system.
Yeah.
And not having to use an app. Like right now, when we play, we're playing. We're playing through PSN, so we're able to talk to each other.
Yeah, that's what's frustrating for me with Nintendo. It's kind of a question of, like, if not with this game, then what game is it going to take for the online to be better? Like, Matt, that's my only question.
Yeah, Nintendo needs to stop using peer-to-peer servers. Like they need to do their own thing, because when you're using peer-to-peer, you're throwing, basically you have your group of people who are online. One person is chosen to host the server, and if that person does not have a good connection, then you're in for a bad time. Disconnects are going to happen. But if they could just use dedicated servers on their own term, like, you know what I mean, like something that they're running,
I agree.
we would not be running into this problem.
Well, Thacker, I know you had something about Salmon Run that you wanted to talk about, because, I mean, again, I think it's a fun game mode, but the server issues and the connection issues definitely came into play there when we tried to play that as well.
And it was prevalent. It was very prevalent, especially on something like that where it's a PvE. You're going against the computer. It shouldn't matter if there's disconnects or anything. That should be heavy affected there. But it was still very there. We had a game early into release, where it was the three of us and Tabby, and ended up playing it for a bit, and I got disconnected. I went back in. My entire progress, and Rusty and I were on the same progress meter. All of my progress was gone.
And that's frustrating.
It took me about 7-8 more games with randoms to be able to get it back. And it was just super frustrating and annoying, because it's like, that should not have happened. Like, that is one that's almost game breaking to make somebody want to be like, you know what, fuck this game, I don't want to play it anymore, and takes it back. It's almost that extreme with it, because you'll have some people who are rational thinking, like, like, after the fact, of course, because in the moment I was not, but after the fact I was like, you know what, it gives me a chance to play it more. But then you have those people who are like, fuck this, and takes it back because it's just not worth it.
Yep.
Some people grind that stuff to be able to get those rewards, and then it's over with. So it's one of those where you guys hit it right on the head, in my opinion. Nintendo needs to do something about dedicating some time and money to servers, so that the next big multiplayer release that we have, we're not running into these issues anymore.
I agree, and I think that it's tough because it takes away from what I believe is a great game. I love this game, I really do. There's a really high chance that I think this will be on my top 10 list. It's just really disappointing that the servers have impacted it as much as they have. And, I would like to have hope that Nintendo will, one of these days, they will get it together and they'll figure out how to do an online multiplayer game and they won't do peer-to-peer matchmaking. I would like to imagine one of these days they will figure that out. My only concern is that if it's not going to happen with Splatoon, one of your biggest multiplayer games, what game is it going to happen for? That's my biggest concern. But other than that, I think this is a great game. I really love it. I know that we've had a lot of fun with it despite the frustration. And I think that we're going to continue playing this for a long time after, even after this episode goes live. I think that we're going to really, really, really get a lot of playtime in on this game. So that is going to wrap us up for this episode of Side Mission. You might have noticed you're listening to it. You can listen to us now on several different platforms, not just Spotify. We do still love Spotify, but we've branched out. We're now on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, fucking Deezer, whatever the hell that is. Have no clue what that is still, and I will probably never use it, but you know what? We're there. iHeartRadio, TuneIn, all that. Just be sure when you search for us on any of those networks, be sure you click the side mission that does not say 94.7. That is from our older days when we were at a different studio. We are no longer there. We've grown up. We've gotten better. Look for the one that has the graphic with me, Matt, and Kyle on it. Our characters. Thacker will one day maybe get added to that, but we'll see. He's still an intern, so who knows. But it's all jokes. But you can also follow us on Twitter at Side Mission Pod, on Facebook at Side Mission Podcast. For the boys, Matt and Thacker, I'm Rusty. Thanks for listening.